All right. Good afternoon. I'm sorry if I will not be able to meet you in real time, but I hope you will learn something throughout the whole footage since this is the continuation as well and part po sa coverage for semifinals. Okay, last time we left off on Hing Apart, if I'm not mistaken, we talked about colors, which is one of the elements of art. Again, color is color, basically the basic. It is derived from light and reflection, and these are waves that activate the color receptors of our eyes. So basically, no, ang colors have the most powerful connection to human nature and emotion because colors ato siyang gamiton to describe emotions such as the feeling if you are sad, then we will associate the feeling of sadness sa color nga blue, or we use certain colors to signify a certain meaning. Like ang black, it is for danger. Green, it is for being naturalistic or you are into nature. Nga na. So that's why color is the most powerful connection to human nature and emotion. So color again, we have three properties. We have hue. It refers to the origin of the colors that we can see, and it can be found in a color wheel. So color wheel, we have the primary and secondary colors. So maning primary, these are blue, red, and yellow. So therefore, if muhatag ko nimo og colors nga red orange, red, red velvet, unsa man ang hue, edi ang red kay siya man ang origin, siya ang pinaka-main nga color nga gigamit. Okay? Ang hue pod, apil pod ana ang secondary colors. Unsa mo tong secondary? Those are violet, orange, and green. So ang main point, ang hue, these are the primary and secondary color. Basta dili primary ug secondary color, therefore that is not a hue. Okay? Number two, value. It is the lightness and darkness of color. So, if you want to change the a certain color na ganahan ka light sa tanawon or black, you'll just need to add white or black. Okay? So the lighter it gets, or if you will add white color, it means that color will reflect light. But if imo siyang gi-add og black, it will absorb the color. It will absorb light. Okay? So while light reflects colors and then black absorbs all of it, gray will reflect light depending sa ihang value. So the darker it is, the more it absorbs, the less it reflects, and vice versa. Kung daghan ang sagol nimo nga black sa imong color gray, therefore mo-absorb siya. But if mas daghan si white, therefore mo reflect siya. Okay? Now, going back, to achieve a certain lightness and darkness of a color, you'll just need to add black or white. Pareha ni nadere, hue plus black and white is equals to change in value. Now, if you will add white color sa imuhang hue, it means you are doing the tinting process or tint na ang tawag ana. Tinting is the process of producing a light value mao nang maka-achieve ta og lighter colors. So therefore, ang imong gibuhat is a tint of hue or a tint of red, tint of blue, tint of yellow. Okay? Now, if imong gi-add kay black, therefore, ang imong mamugna kay mga shade. Shade of blue, shade of red, shade of yellow. And imong process na gibuhat is shading. Okay? Shading is a process of producing a darker value such as giadan maron nimo siya og dark colors. Okay? Para di ta kalimot again, we have whiplash, an acronym which stands for WHY, white, T stands for tint. So if white yung giad, tint ang tawag. We have BLA, blush, and if you want giad kay black, then you will have SH, shade. Okay? And number three, intensity. Lahi si intensity ug si value. Kaya ang value is about the lightness and darkness sa color. Ang intensity, it is pagka-dull or pagka-bright sa usa ka color. Like, mura ba siya og uga tanawon? Like matte ba? Matte iyang effect? Or shiny kayo or brilliant kayo, sihag kayo siya. That's intensity. Like, let's imagine na ang imong color nga gamit kay black. Diba? Black mo din yung color. Pero ang intensity niya is dull or bright. Kung mayroon kag dull, mo naman sa dry or matte tan-awon. But if it is bright nga black, mo naman sa sinaw, gani kaayo. Or siha, kuan ayang pagkadili sihag. Kanang kuan siya ba nga color, bright na color, pagka-black. That is intensity. Okay? Um, Okay, let's proceed to the next slide. So here is the example or visualization when we say tint. So mo ni ang kuan. If imong giadan og white color padung puti siya, that is tint. Ang tawag sa process kay tinting. But if black, shade or shading. But if mo nang i-combine ang duha, ang black ug ang white, that is already tone. Okay? We also have here mga color scheme like organization of colors as part sa imuhang kuan pagplan kung unsa ang colors imong gamiton kung mag-draw or mag-paint ka. Imong importante ni sila like makakita ka ba unsa nga possible nga nindot nga combination imong pwede gamiton. We have monochromatic. From the name itself, mono means one. We only a technique where only one color is used. So it is visualized in this manner. Like let's say ay mo gigamit nga color kay red. Therefore, anong tanang red, ani nga part gikan sa ubos pudong pataas mo na imuhang gamiton. Okay? Monochromatic man. So even the hue, the tints and shade are consistent all throughout because you are using one specific color, which is red. Okay? Number two, or letter B, we have analogous colors. When we say analogous, it is a color scheme wherein ang hues or ang colors imong gipang gamit are side by side. Ang imong colors nga gamiton kay magsilingan ra, tapad ra sila sa color wheel. Okay? Kaprihan ni na sa example, tapad si yellow, green, og orange. Okay? So examples are blue, blue-green, blue-violet, and red have something in common. So mo na imuhang mga possible nga color na pwede nimo gamiton since duol man sila, silingan naman sila sa color wheel. Mo na ang analogous side by side. Okay? Next, we have letter C, complementary. Complement means to add something para siya ma-perfect. So, complementary colors are used when the theme of art is intended to create strong expression of contrast. Kanang, ingon ka ba? Kung ingon kag contrast, like, mabalance ka siya. Like, if lighter ang pikas, therefore, dark ang imuha. Dili kay mo mag-isig kompetensya anay sila kinsay mas chart and awon. Mo bitaw nang mas mo-blend together si red o green kay at banga na sila sa color wheel. The same goes to blue and aning orange. Same goes to violet and yellow. At bang naman sila. Therefore, kung ingon tag complement, if i-add silang duha, nindot sila ba? Ang ngayon sila tan-awon, perfect sila tan-awon. Okay, at bang ra sila og dapit. Complementary colors will establish a vibration together. Like pareha sa red and green, complementary sila because red symbolize fire and green symbolize life. Okay? It's complementary. Next, we have the color triads. From the name itself, art must be focused on three general colors daw. Inga na yung forma, triad, tulo. Okay? It is when imong gamiton nga colors kay nasulod sa usa ka triangle, triad, tulo. Okay? pwede ka mo gamit og mga like mogamit ka og usa ka color gikan sa primary, mogamit kag usa ka color gikan sa secondary, and then mogamit kag usa ka color gikan sa tertiary. That is triad. Kanang masud sa triangle. Basta at least usa ka primary, usa ka secondary, ug usa ka tertiary. Next, we have the split complements. Split complements, from the name itself, na split siya ba? It is when you combine a hue or a color with each side of its exact complement. Diba? If nakakuan pa mo, visualize mo, kaniha, complementary is kanang color nga atbang ra nimo. Kung ang complementary ni yellow kay si violet, sa split complementary or the split complements, dili na si violet imong gamiton, kundi ang silingan ni violet, which is si red violet o si blue. Nakuha? That's split complement. Imbis nga one direction lang ka, iguro ka mo labang sa pikas, pareha ni complementary, niliko ka. I mean, imo ka ni split ka, natunga ka. So niadto ka sa isig silingan sa imuhang atbang. That's split complementary. Like letter F, we have the warm and cool colors. The color wheel can be divided into two groups, namely the warm and cool colors. The warm group contains the hues of red, orange, and yellow because they represent fire. While blue, green, and violet, these are colors na convey of bugnaw or cool, snow or water, grass or nature na feeling. That's the warm and cool colors. Next, let's also talk about texture. It is how it feels when touched. It adds dynamics in art, and it is the artist's way of representing art to the viewers. Texture in art refers to how subjects and objects of the piece feel if imo siyang hikapon. It is very important because it will add dynamics sa usa ka artwork by showing na naay certain or variety sa texture ba ang imong gi-paint. Dili lang kay puro sinaw, dili lang kay puros mga matte, dili lang puros rough. That's why texture will add dynamic in art. It will show us or sa viewers na kani nga part imong gi-paint kisinaw ni and kani nga part dili. That's the dynamic behind there. Okay? So in perceiving the texture para maka kuan ta, we have four. Texture is perceived through our senses. Number one, si tactile, ma-perceive nimo siya through touch. Imo siyang hikapon. Like, mahibawan nimo siya ba nga mao ni iyang texture if imo siyang hikapon. That's tactile. Number two, visual texture. Dili nimo siya hikapon. Instead, this is just a visual expectation nimo. Like, nakita ka og item or nakita ka og kanang not item. Kita ba karon og glass sa iyang gi-paint. Therefore, mag-expect ka nga ang texture ana if imuha pa na siyang mahikap kay the same texture sa real life nga glass nga sinawon nga kuan siya nga dalog ana ba. You have the visual expectation because that object is giving you an impression nga mauni ang iyang feeling once imo siyang hikapon. Example, if magpaint ka or mo-draw ka dira og fur or balhibo. So, as a response to that, the viewers will expect na ang feeling ana is something of soft, smooth, so on and so forth. Okay? That's the visual expectation lang. Next, we have the simulated texture and invented nga texture. When we say simulated, um, it is when it is the imitation or imong gi-copy ang real nga texture sa usa ka batang. Imong gi-simulate ba, imong um, I'm not sure how can I put this up. Like, simulate imong gi-copy, imo siyang gi-try og mimic a reality. That's simulation. This is when the artist creates the illusion of texture without actually making the surface feel any different. Going back to visual. Visual, this is the illusion of texture created on a flat surface. So it looks like it could be felt, but in reality, it's just a drawing or painting. While sa simulated, this is when the artist mo create siyang illusion sa texture sa iyang paint or draw without actually making the surface or sa iyang surface jud sa iyang paint or draw nga mao jud ang iyang feeling kung may kapon. Okay? That's simulated. Example ana is kuan as I mentioned earlier, mo draw ba karon og piece of fur o balibo using a short, light stroke to simulate the texture. So the way nimo gigamit ang chalk to create light and dark areas will simulate the softness or pagka-fluffy sa usa ka fur. Okay, that's simulated. It represents something that it does exist sa reality. While invented, this is an abstract texture that doesn't exist in real world, but it is created by the artist. So you could like draw a swirling pattern that suggests the texture is kuan that suggests a certain texture but isn't related to anything tangible. Like nga na, the focus is the combination of shapes and dynamic use of chalk marks to evoke a sense of texture. Murag wala ni kan ba ni exist in reality nga type of texture na mong ginapakita. That's invented. Mugna-mugna lang from the name itself. It is non-objective. It is not based on standard. It is subjective type of texture created by the artist. Let's move forward to the principles of design. We have eight. Yes, eight principles of design. We have rhythm, pattern, movement, balance, proportion, variety, emphasis, harmony, and unity. Let's start with rhythm. If music has musical rhythm, there is also visual rhythm. If ang tula naa say rhythm wherein ato siyang ma-check every ending sa line, makaingon ta nga naay rhyme siya ba? Kina ayang ending kay magkatunog. Okay? The same goes sa visuals. Sa visual arts, naapo na siya rhythm. In what way man? Para ma-achieve na to si rhythm, we need to repeat certain elements sa ato ang artwork. Unsa man ni nga elements, balik-balikon maron nimo ang color, ang shape, ang form, or anything nga pwede nimo balik-balikon para naa kay ma-create nga pattern. So mao na siya ang pattern. Pattern is when imong balik-balikon ang mga elements. There is a repetition of the shapes, forms, or lines, or even colors. Now, if imo siyang gibalik-balik, therefore, maka-create ka og sense of movement na naay flow siya. And that sense of movement or flow, mao na gitawag og rhythm. Okay? Mao na gitawag og rhythm. Balik ta. Rhythm sa art, it refers to the sense of movement created by the repetition or pagbalik-balik sa elements. Bottom line, you cannot create a certain movement or rhythm unless na ay pattern. Okay? Rhythm is about the movement that or the movement or the flow where it creates a visual pathway leading viewer through the artwork in specific way. While pattern is the repetition of the elements. Okay? Rhythm is about the movement again and the flow na ma-achieve nimo once you have pattern because pattern is about the repetition and uniformity. I hope na wala ra mo naglipog na kakita ra mo sa kalainan. Okay? Rhythm involve the repetition of elements. Since mauman ang iyahang kinahanglan, di man kaka-create of rhythm unless there is repetition which is done by pattern. Going back to pattern, we have types of pattern like random. irregular, alternating, and progressive. So in pattern, we have the terms motif and modules. If you are doing or if buhat ka og usa ka two-dimensional artwork like painting or drawing, therefore ang kanang imuhang elements gigamit kay tawag motif. Like example, napakaron kay gipaint ng mga apples nga pahiluna sila na say arrangement from small to biggest. So ang kanang imuhang gipanggamit nga apple sa imuhang gipaint since two-dimensional man na ang tawag ana kay motif. But what if in real life nimo siya gipahiluna? Imong gigamit ang apples in real life. Imo siyang gi-arrange in increasing manner. So therefore, ang kanang apples in real life nga three-dimensional, that is considered modules because these are units of elements that are repeated in a pattern. Okay? Now going back, we have here the types of pattern. We have random. This is an example of random. Kanina sa left side, random rasia, but still there is a pattern. We have um, regular. This is a regular type of pattern. Another is alternating. Lastly, this is progressive. Padung paubos or pa taas. Let's talk about balance. Balance ensures that all elements are accorded with equal force. It gives feeling organization and feeling of organization and proper arrangement. Balance in art is perceived and experienced. Okay? Balance sa art is important because it helps create a sense of harmony. Kaya if walay harmony ang imong colors, lines, shapes, so on and so forth, nga niyang porma. Asa to? It is very chaotic kayo siya. Gubot kayo. Di ka ka-identify asa ari ang bida, sa ari ang kontra or whatever. No? Balance sa art is very important because it helps create a sense of harmony and order in a composition. So by doing that, you will make the artwork feel stable and visually pleasing. But kani visually pleasing pa ba ni? Di ba dili man? So munang importante si balance. When an artwork is balanced, the elements within it like shapes, colors, and textures ma-arrange siya in a way that it guides the viewer's eyes without feeling chaotic or uncomfortable. Right? So, ang balance is perceived and experienced like it can be achieved in different ways like atong mga types, an example later on. But balance is perceived and experienced because the viewer's eyes naturally notice how elements are distributed in the artwork. Like, kanang ikaw man gud ang nakakita, ikaw ang makabantay nga magsimang lagi niya, wala lagi na balance na hiwi lagi ni. Mo nagpasabot aning balance in art is perceived and experienced. You are the one who's going to check if it is balanced or not. Para nimo wa ba siya na awkward tan-awon. So you have the experience. You need to experience first the artwork by checking or by pagtan-aw ani. Imo lang siyang i-view if naangay ba siya. So by checking or watching or viewing, maka-identify ka if ang balance is there or not. So we have here the three types of balance. Formal, like 50-50 nga balance. It is about being equal or bilateral symmetry. It projects stability, stiffness, formality, and perfectionism. While radial balance, like from center to outward direction, kapre ng mga buwak, mga spiral design, mga mandala art. Number three, or the letter C, we have informal balance or asymmetrical. It is casual and less planned, abstract, and complete complex balance. For example, this is an example of formal. Like if unsay mo makita sa left side, maupod sa right side. So, formal siya nga balance, 50-50 ba? Sa kani, this is mandala art, an example of radial. Sa kanipod, this is the Great Wave of Katagawa. Dili siya ingong 50-50 ang pagka-balance. Kay sa right side, o sa right side kay gamay ra, minimal elements na makita compare sa left side. But still, it is asymmetrically balanced. Like ang ngayon gihapon kayo siba. Kay murag ayang proportion or ayang ratio is 70 to 30. 70% is to 30%. So there is still a balance ani nga artwork. Okay? This time let's move on to proportion. Proportion is the another kanang principles of art. Before tamo dive in a proportion, let's try first to establish or understand what is a ratio. Ratio is the relationship of two sets of data wherein if I will give you example lang, if I'll give you two boxes of chocolate, ay mohang ihatag bao sa kuha is four boxes of chocolate. So what's the relationship between the two sets of data? Is 1 is to 2. Okay, every one chocolate, I will receive two chocolates. Or 2 is to 4. But atong saying is simplified, that is 1 is to 2. That's a ratio. Now, when we say proportion, it means it is the relationship with two set of ratio. Like if they are equal or proportional to each other. That is in the mathematical sense. Proportion is like saying, proportion is when two ratios are equal to each other. So di ka kaingon nga proportional siya if ang duha ka ratio kay dili siya equal. In other words, the statement that two ratios represent the same relationship, it means that ang proportion is an equation that says two ratios are equivalent. Like ito lang ibutang, it's like saying if two apples go with four oranges, then four apples must go with eight oranges. Naglibog or naglibog? Okay. Example, ako siyang tagaan, nagtagaan tika og two apples. So every taghatag na kog two apples na po kay madawat nga four oranges. Ang kana daw nga idea is proportional po sa idea nga if mohatag ko nimo og upat ka apples, then therefore naasag kay madawat nga 8 oranges. So what is the relationship? From apple to orange, the relationship is 1 is to 2. But apple, the relationship is 1 is to 2. But if ato na sang proportion, it is 2 is to 4 is equals to 4 is to 8. Okay, that's proportion. Now, if we will relate proportion in arts, it refers to the size relationship. Iyang gitan-aw ra niha ang iyahang gadakon sa elements na imong gipanggamit. Wa siya labot if na balance pa na pareha ra bag mga mananap imong gigamit anhi o ngadto sa unahan. Wa siya labot ana. Proportion is focus on the size relationship between different elements in an artwork. It's about how the parts of an image or your artwork compare to each other in terms sa iyahang gidakon, sa iyahang shape, and sa iyahang scale. For example, if nagpaint ka, well, if a figure in a painting is drawn with a head that is mas dako pa sa iyahang lawas, then therefore, it means it is not proportional. Okay? But if imong head and body kay more on realistic gani ilang gidakon, like they are realistically sized, normal lang in relation to each other, then therefore they are proportional. So the importance of proportional is that it helps conveys certain ideas or emotion. Like para na to ang katong dako ang ulo kaysa lawas, it is actually denoting the idea of being weird, stupid, whimsical, or satire. Satirical, ingana. So depende gyapon nga meaning ang unsa imong ma-associate. Depende kung asa nga kung proportional ba siya or dili. Okay? Now, speaking of which, we also have here the 1 is to 1.6, which is our golden mean or the golden ratio. It is believed by Pythagoras that the world operates on a constant mathematical equation. Now, everything around us can under siya mathematical equation in the manifestation of the golden mean or golden ratio. Itawag siya golden mean or golden ratio because it reflects the belief nila sa una that ang golden ratio daw is the divine or the most ideal type of proportion and the ideal proportion in art and design. It gets its name because of its association with beauty, harmony, and balance. Like as I've said earlier, the Pythagoras believe that there is mathematical equation in our environment, and that is the golden mean or golden ratio. And since na-associate Masias as being perfect, the perfect measurement of everything, that is why gitawag sa golden mean or golden ratio. It is actually 1 is to 1.618 if ako na sa'yo. Next, let's move on to the next slide. The golden mean restricts. Sorry, golden mean restricts. No, sa naman yung pronunciation. The golden mean restricts and limits the ability of the artist to explore possibilities. So, ang reason nga nung iyang i-restrict or limit ang mga artists, kay mo siya wala na kay freedom. Like, fix na ba ang proportion sa imuhang mga gipandro? So, dili na ka mura kag gilimitahan kung unsa ang gidakon, unsa ang size sa imuhang mga piece since you have the golden mean. It is lacking flexibility and it is overemphasizing or overemphasis kayo sa idea nga perfection. That's the downside of the golden mean. Now, let's also talk about scale. Scale is different sa ratio o proportion because it refers to the relative size of an object. Just try to imagine imuhang kaugalingon. Itapad tika sa usa ka kanang basketball player or Miss Universe nga candidate. Do you think imong size is kanang taas tan-awon or upo tan-awon kung ang tapad nimo kay ang mga basketball player or kanang usa ka candidate or usa ka beauty queen? If you said no, then might be because imong height is 5 or 5 to 6 lang, 5 or 6 lang. Dili ka para sila nga 6 to 7 ay lang katason. Now, if itapad tika sa usa ka naay kondisyon nga dwarfism, basically imong height is mas taas sa iyaha. You're now considered as the normal nga size. Kaya lahi naman ang imong tapad. That is scale. Mao bitaw na ang rason nganong kung example, ang standard nga size sa balay kanang size sa balay ninyo karon. But if magbuhat ka og mga kuan balay-balay, ang tawag ana is miniature. Miniature siya kay small version man siya sa usa ka balay. It is being compared to a standard nga measurement. Unsa man ang standard measurement? Ang kanang regular or tinuod nga balay sa usa ka tawo. Okay? Or another example, karon kay doll. Ang standard niya sa size sa doll is kanang normal gud nga dakon nga dili kayo dako kayo. But if I will create life size nga doll, nga dako pa sa tao, gitawag siya life size because it is kuan identical or iyang gadakon kay the same sa normal nga height sa usa ka tawo. Like mga 5 or 6 height sa kuan 6 nga height sa usa ka Pinoy. Does it make sense? So sa proportion wala kay gi-compare nga standard nga measurement. It's just that imong gi-compare ang certain data, sets of data. While sa scale, imong i-compare ang gidak-on sa usa ka butang depende sa kung unsa ang standard. Kuha? Sa scale, if ang standard nga size sa cellphone is kana inyong gikuptan karon and then magbugna ko o kanang dako kayo nga cellphone, dako pa nimo, it means that is already considered a life size nga cellphone. Okay, based man siya sa standard. As man ang standard ato, ang kanang regular phone nga naa sa imong kamot, kanang imong ginagamit karon mao na ang regular or the standard measurement sa usa ka cellphone. Okay? That's it. Now, going back to proportion, if we will relate proportion in arts, again, it is when imong i-compare ang certain part sa usa ka artwork ngadto sa kanang iyahang overall. Like, example, sa noun, maron sa tao. We can say that imuhang ilong, imuhang mata, imuhang ngabil is proportional if ilahang size is the same size and how they should be. Like normal lang nga size ba or gidakon. But if imuhang mata mas dako kaayo yan, awkward kay siya tan-awon, nya gamay kay imuhang ilong ug imong ngabil. Therefore, that is no longer proportional. Okay, dili naman siya ingon ko ba, balance, di na siya equal. Ayahang gidakon in relation to your ears, forehead, imong face, imong nose, or imong lips or mouth. Okay? And for the last part, we have the variety, emphasis, harmony, and unity. So variety from the name itself, pagka lain-lain. Naatay variety para naay sari-sari ba, naay pagkalain-lain, dili binalik kani, but naapoy something nga bag-o. That's variety. Emphasis, it improves variety to draw areas that may draw attention. So, it means it is a technique of creating mo sa pinakabida or sa pinaka-star. Gani. That's the purpose of emphasis, to direct the attention to a key element or area of the composition. While harmony and unity is kuan. Harmony is when it refers sa arrangement sa mga elements, the way they complement each other. Like, dili sila awkward or simang gani kay tanawon. Kung imong gibutang sa ani nga side kay puros iring og iro, therefore di ka mag-add og whales, mga panda, mga wild animals or whatever or whatnot. Because they are no longer related. Dapat na mo sa relationship pa. Among ipangutang dili kay mag-isig kompetensya anay nga simang nakaayo para mo-work sila as one. And that is now what we call unity. It is the wholeness or oneness of the artwork. Kung ingon tag unity, example, imong concept is about white Christmas. So therefore, imong gamiton nga color is white. Dili kay magamit ka og black. Kay if black na, there's no longer unity ana sa imong concept or sa imong theme. Okay? Unity is the principle that ensures all elements of a composition work together to form a complete and cohesive whole. It's the sense that everything in the artwork belongs together and is related in some way. Okay, that's unity. So in variety again, it is the application of differences and contrast must be maximized, while emphasis is to achieve emphasis, to give more intensity in color, contours, and outlines. So there are two types of emphasis. We have the emphasizing an element, like nakamupili ka og certain element na imong emphasize. For example, imong gustong emphasize na color is red. So you will use red on the subject, and then di ka mo gamit og laing kuan yellow, line colors like yellow or blue, but you will emphasize more the color red since mao man ay mong gi-emphasize nga element. While emphasizing area, it is when it involves drawing attention to a specific part of a composition. So, like in like certain area or parts imong gi-paint or draw nga mao jud kuan ba, mukara jud padung and direction or tan-aw ang mga viewers because you emphasize that area. Imo barong gihawanan, imo barong siyang gibutangan og highlight, so on and so forth. And we also have here the techniques in emphasis. It is about the contrasting the elements, isolation, like imo warang tagaan og sahawan ba, like i-isolate na nimo ang pinaka subject sa imong art piece, leaving the subject alone from other elements. Location, imo siyang ibutang sa center or sa middle. Convergence, it is about using converging lines like kanang sa kalsada nga effect. Unusual, it is when you will use unconventional mechanism like kanang concept nga one of the voice like naay usa nga malahi ba, that's unusual. or naaboy gun on a bed of roses, or naaboy color yellow nga balde on a color black nga mga balde. Nay unusual or naay nisimang nga at least usa and kanang nasimang mo na siyang mahimong emphasis sa usa ka piece. Now, if harmony is about the process of unity by recognizing the importance of separate elements that are related, unity sad is making the art perceive as the sum of its part. Without it, it will not convey cohesiveness. Okay? And to achieve unity, these are the three things you need to consider. Number one, simplicity. So although nahatay variety nga principle, you need to make sure it is still simple. Dili ka na sobraan og pagka sari-sari. Repetition. You need to simplify it as well in a manner nga balik-balikon lang po nimo na if magamit kag yellow, then balikon na po nimo ang the same color nga yellow. And lastly, proximity. Proximity. It is limiting the negative space. Like as much as possible, wala kayo awkward nga area or hawan na area. Naadjud say ka ng kwan ba? Naay parts nga naay element nga ni-exist ana sa na area sa imong gipaint. Okay? And that's it for our module 11. So I hope na amoy nasabtan. Bahala pang duka na mo anha. And I'll be sending, I mean, I want you to access the link that kong post together ani nga video link. I have there the questions associated with these topics.